already cursing.
So,
I know you're sick.
yeah, already. Okay.
Did I show you my new gadget that I got for Christmas in Secret
No, but I
Santa?
love a gadget.
It massages my eyeballs.
Is this the TikTok phenomenon that I've been seeing?
I guess I haven't seen it on my TikTok, but do you know your girl, that TikTok you shared with the lady in the booties sliding down the stairs?
Yes.
That is me. I literally sit there with my booties on, with this on after like a long stretch of work, and I just sit there in my bed with my feet up in my old lady ergonomic bed or whatever it's called, adjust-o-matic, and I go to sleep. I also have a warming back massager thing.
So these thingies, what do they do? Are they massaging your eyes or your temples?
Both.
Ooh.
And it warms up.
Ooh.
It plays like stupid music, but I think you can also pair it to your Bluetooth, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay. All right. I'm here for that.
And then when you're done, it goes, "Thank you for your use."
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for massaging my eyeballs.
Wow.
So when I was
that must
waiting
feel
for
good
you,
after a long day.
when I was waiting for you to come in, I was sitting here like this, waiting to listen to hear you, and you weren't coming, and you weren't going.
I think the audience needs to know that I was sitting in our test studio for like 30 minutes, thinking I was in the right studio. Alyssa texts, she's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Like 20 minutes before you noticed it too.
I'm like, because I got in the studio and then I just sat back and took another nap. So yeah, I was in the wrong studio, folks. So
she's like, "I've been waiting for you."
Right.
Where?
And then I'm like, and then you send me the thing. I'm like, wait a minute, where is she at? And then I look at the URL and it's like studio/test-. I'm like, this is the wrong goddamn studio. Anyway, I got my crap together.
I don't have the controls over the podcasting stuff. Naomi's all the controls over that. I only control live streams.
Yeah, it was my bad. So anyway, here we are. Hello.
Hello. We've lost it.
We kind of have.
Unhinged video.
Boom.
Podcast episode. However you're consuming this.
Giving it to you unhinged 24/7.
I mean, if you really want to be unhinged, we should do these when I'm up at like 3 a.m, Naomi.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
I mean, I'm awake.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, here we are back for another episode. You know, it's funny because like I noticed like so many people rush to do their end of year favorites by like the end of December, but I never really rush it. I like to wait to gather and like really think about it, like that first week of January. And I never choose 10. It's whatever I feel like. So yeah, we're not going to give you a whole lot today. We're going to give you 12. We're going to give you 12 total. But you know, check our accounts later to see what we post later.
I will be filming my top books of the year probably as we're recording this.
Yeah.
After I wake up, sometime in the middle of the night, I will be recording my top books of the year.
Yeah.
I'll also do, like last year, I will go through every book I read as quickly as I can.
That's kind of fun when you do that.
Or no.
I kind of like when you do that. That's fun.
I'll tell you yes or no. I can't. I thought about doing like the tier rankings. I do not have the patience to download all those covers.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It would take like 2 hours, and I'm not doing that. Rapid fire, baby. I'm doing it. Anyway, what have you been reading?
I'm currently reading this really, really interesting book that's making me mad. It's infuriating me. It's called In the Lobby. Oh, I'm going to tell you why. In the Lobby of the Dream Hotel by Genevieve Plunkett. Is this translated or is this English? Okay, just English. All right. This is out from Catapult. Thank you, Catapult, for this book. And so in this book, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, but also like I'm so angry. What is her name? I just forgot her name. Portia, the wife. Portia's a wife and a mother. very young. She's married to a very prominent prosecutor. And he is an absolute a-hole. In every sense of the word. Portia suffers from mental illness. She has bipolar disorder. And she has the type of husband who constantly makes her feel like she isn't good enough. He's constantly questioning her mothering skills, her capabilities as a mother. He's constantly making her feel like she doesn't do things that make sense. It's like he antagonizes her all the time. And it's also like he just picks at her. So like he'll do something and she'll get upset and she'll just say like, I could just hit you right now. And he's like, well, do it. He's always just like pushing her. It's like he wants her to do something so that he has something against her to, you know what I mean? To like do whatever evil things that he wants to do. He's that kind of an a-hole. You know what I mean? And so she's always second guessing herself. She's so insecure about, is she being a good wife? Is she being a good mother? And then on top of that, she is trying to deal with this mental illness. She also is a musician, and she has some feelings that are resurfacing for a bandmate. And so she's kind of dealing with that as well. And watching this woman try to navigate her day to day with this man that she's married to, just constantly nitpicking her and really kicking her when she's down, just boils my blood from the inside, because I don't know. It's almost like you fear for her, because any wrong move, that him being this high profile prosecutor, nobody's going to believe anything that she says over him. Well, you already know that. And so you're really scared for her because it feels like she doesn't have any kind of a safety net. And she's married to this man who has so much power over her just from his job alone. And you really don't know where things are going to go. I'm about halfway through this book, but I'm loving it. But man, that husband, I mean, he's really showing all of his sharp teeth. He's showing them all. So I don't know where we're gonna go. I don't know where this is going at the end, but I'm rooting for her. Some of the things that I think are gonna happen, I hope don't happen, but I'm feeling very fearful for Portia because she's married to a monster, and I don't know how she's going to get through this. So
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it is. So that's In the Lobby of the Dream Hotel by Genevieve Plunkett.
You gave me your cough. Anyway.
Oh, no.
So I found this arc at Savers, and I picked it up because I was like, vampires. Like you do. And I am invested. Oh. So this is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland.
That's the book I wanted to read.
It came out last year from Flatiron, and it is giving me kind of, not historian in like the story itself, but just generally in this vibe of coming at the vampire narrative from a different angle, and from a very literary angle, which I'm really enjoying. So I'm like 30% of the way through. It is very interesting. You're going back and forth between like the early mid 1800s to like 1984, where she is right now in her long life. It's definitely a discussion of like, is life really something that is like a gift? Like, is it worth living? So it says, combining brilliant prose with breathtaking suspense, The God of Endings serves as a larger exploration of the human condition and all its complexities, asking us the most fundamental question: is life in this world a gift or a curse? Colette Lessange is a lonely artist who heads an elite fine arts school for children in upstate New York. Her youthful beauty masks the dark truth of her life. She has endured centuries of turmoil and heartache in the wake of her grandfather's long ago decision to make her immortal like himself. Now, in 1984, Colette finds her life upended by the arrival of a gifted child from a troubled home and the return of a stalking presence from her past and her mysterious growing hunger. So I've just kind of gotten to like she's just meeting this child at the school, and like the parents are terrible, and like something is happening with the parents. Like something happens on a field trip. They're like trying to find this kid's parents. Something is going on, and that's kind of where I left it. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm really enjoying the way the story is unfolding as she's telling you the her origin story almost. How did she get to this moment in time in 1984? And there are a lot of like really deep introspective moments where she is trying to figure out if life is worth living, really. Is having this gift of life really a gift or a curse?
Yeah.
And there's some interesting things that the author does with the vampire lore in general, like in terms of what happens after she's turned and how she like grows or develops or what happens to her body. It's very interesting. So I'm fascinated. She has left New York, like in the old part of the story, she's left New York because she's from upstate New York. And she has gone back to Europe. I'm not quite sure where. I don't know if I missed it or if they're just being a little vague. And so she's staying with these people that are somehow sort of interconnected with her through her grandfather. So those bits are getting unveiled. And then she has the school in 1984 and the stuff with the child. And it's going to be interesting how everything kind of converges, I think, at the end of the story. But what I really like is how they started this. They started this off with something that I forget is something that's part of the social history of tuberculosis, which is that before people really understood tuberculosis, you could get so weak and so tired that you almost appeared dead to the trained medical eye of the time. So there is this connection between TB and vampirism because people would kind of come back from this like almost near coma state, or they would bury people and they would find out they were alive. So there was this period, especially in more rural sort of superstitious areas, where people are like dismembering bodies or like staking them or doing things because they didn't want these people who are dying of this illness they do not understand to come back. So it's rooted in that social history, and I love the social history of medicine. So I just like that she took this little piece of that and has blossomed this story out of it. So really, really loving this. I like when you just kind of go through a store and you pick up books. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
It's one of the downsides of doing what we do and creating this content and interacting so much with publishing is that that joy of just kind of like trolling a shelf and being like, oh, and picking it up and reading the back and just organically finding something.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen as much. I just happen to have not seen this, I guess, while they were doing publishing like promotion for it. But I found it, through Savers. So yeah. I'm excited. Wow. Really excited about this one.
Wow.
I think you're awesome. Gonna love it. I keep thinking about you. I feel like this is a Naomi book. So unless it takes,
I know I put it in our Discord last year because I wanted to read it in October, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, unless it takes some sort of like weird turn in the last 2/3 of the book, I think you're really gonna like it. I think it's really interesting. It's still like a lot being set up because we're just kind of getting this kid. Like this kid is a little bit weird. Like he's definitely been abused in some way. He may have something on the spectrum as well, or maybe it's just his trauma. We don't know.
Right.
Everything's still unfolding. So I'm very, very curious to see what happens.
Yeah. Wow. I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm excited.
We have other things to talk about. Let's get to that.
I know. All right. So we're just gonna give you 12, a total of 12 favorite books that we read in 2023. How about that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first? Sure, I'll go first. I am going to, and I've talked about all of these books on this podcast before, at least once, twice, or 3 times. But my first one is How to Love Your Daughter by Hyla Bloom. And this is translated from, I forgot what language, by Daniela Zamir. And this came out from Riverside last year. Really love this book. I love a good book about, parenting and motherhood. And this just hit all the feels for me. It was just so, I don't know, so sad and, just so complicated. And I think anybody could really enjoy this book. The writing is absolutely fantastic, and it really makes you feel a lot of things.
I love that cover so much.
The cover is so great, so great. So yeah, so when we open with this book, we know that there is this woman who is looking over yonder at some children who we find out very early on are her grandchildren. And then we uncover that there is some kind of serious distance between she and her daughter. And as we go through the book, we find out why. And it's just some really beautiful lines in here, and the story is just so heartfelt. And I really loved it. It's a very short book. It's only is it under 300 pages. So you could definitely read this in a sitting, but highly recommend How to Love Your Daughter.
I don't have two of my books. One because I don't own, and the other because I can't find it. So we're gonna go. I think it's all the way at the top, and I didn't feel like getting the letter out today. So, Boulder.
Yeah.
Boulder is 100% on our list.
Sure.
My list. I feel like I keep circling back to a lot of the feelings and sentiments that I had while we were reading this story. Mm-hmm. It is so short and is written in a way. So, like, one of the reasons why I've always really loved Hemingway is he writes in very like short, purposeful sentences. And it's one of the reasons why I liked Passing. And it's what I find people who can say a lot with very little, the best writers for me personally. Sure, I'm all here for like purple prose and flowery language and lyrical stuff. That's great. But if you really want to get me, write as brevity, like write as little as possible and make sure every word counts. And that's how I felt with Boulder. And it blew me away. I love this. I love explorations of obsessive relationships that shouldn't exist but do, and watching how people get into and then out of them. And I see it in so many things. I feel like we've brought it up so many times when I'm reading other books. I'm like, Boulder, like that. Yeah, those feelings. Yeah, so I just love Boulder. That was one of our books from 2023.
Yep, I think that was our January, February 2023 pick. Yes.
Yeah, that was an early favorite.
And very much. Very much. I cannot wait to read Permafrost and Mammoth. So I'm excited to finish that up.
We will get through them all.
We shall. All right. My next one is My Men by Victoria Keeland. And this is translated from the Norwegian by Damien Searles. Man, this is like totally my groove, right? Just watching a woman just completely descend into utter madness. This is based on a true story of a Norwegian maid turned Midwestern farm wife, and she is the first serial killer in American history. So this is a fictional account of that story. And what I love about this book is like, it's not a book where it's like blood on the page. It's not like you were going through all these accounts of her, like, I don't know, like hacking and slashing people. It's not like that. There's like so much mysteriousness in what she was doing, and every sentence that is written in this book just shows like how, I don't know, diabolical and how cunning this woman was. And to me, that makes it, I don't know, like more terrifying, just seeing how her mind works. That's more scary to me than blood on the page. And I just ate this book up. Again, another really short one, and read it in a day. But man, when you're done with it, you're just looking around, just staring around like, what did I absolutely just read? It was fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, this could have gone 1,000 ways, but the way it ended, I gotta say, I was not expecting that. I had a whole other story in my mind going for how it's going to end. And so that ending was shocking, jaw dropping, and it took me a minute to kind of like think that one through. It's very good. My Men by Victoria Keeland.
I really do need to read that. I need to like put that down somewhere so I don't forget it.
And no one talks about it. No one's talked about it.
I never see it anywhere except for when you tell me about it. So then my other one that I don't have physically, which I don't own, which I really wish I did, is Monster: A Fan's Dilemma. I've talked about that a bunch. It is a fantastic book that looks at all the themes that I have been, for some reason, focusing on in 2023 from, I feel like I'm a broken record, but the difference between being a creative as a man or someone with a wife and being the wife trying to be a creative, that role, that job of wife, and what that gives to the other person and what that takes from the person playing wife. But also at this forefront is this discussion of what happens when you find out that an idol or a favorite artist, author, film director, you find out about their problematic behavior. The author is a film critic, and she's really focusing on this, like Woody Allen and what's his other name? He's like extradition order is out for him. Anyway, like gross men that do gross things to people. And what happens to their work? Does it change how you perceive it? Does it change how you consume it going forward? Is this the best, most nuanced discussion that I have seen about the separating the art from the artist to date. And I highly encourage people to read it because I think it does the best job of explaining why this is something that we're never going to have just a consensus on. It's never going to happen because it's such a deeply personal thing every time, because it depends on so many factors from who you are, what your traumas are, when did you find out these things, what are the things you're finding out. This is not like this is so gray and so nuanced, and it's going to be something that we're always arguing about, and it's going to be something that's going to always be kind of pissing people off because everybody's going to put that line somewhere else. And I just think she does a phenomenal job with that particular part of like these essays. So definitely, please, Monster: A Fan's Dilemma. It's Claire Dederer. Chef's Kiss. It's the only arc that I am upset that I didn't get this year.
Wow.
Because I loved it so much. Normally I don't care. This one was because now I have to break my stupid low buy year, put my book on the spreadsheet of shame and get shamed by my friends, because when I can finally get my hands on a copy that is reasonably priced, I'm going to be getting it.
I really need to read that.
You do. It's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
All right. My next one is Rootless by Crystal Zara Appiah. I think that's how you say her last name. And this book ruined me. And this book ruined me and had me in my feelings for like really all of 2023. I read this book in March of 2023. It came out in April. I read it in March or February. And the ending just gutted me so badly. I mean, I had to tell the author like that, you really effed me up with that one. I told her, you really effed me up with that one, and I don't know how I'm going to get over it.
Before. I don't
know how I'm going to get over it.
What did you do?
She was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I don't think you are. This is such a good look at the pressure that women are under to have children. Even when they express very clearly, very explicitly that they are not ready or they don't want to at all. And what our main character went through in this book of having that pressure of bearing children, not just from her husband, but from her family as well. Yeah. I mean, I was just full of rage for her throughout the whole story, and nobody cared about what she wanted. No one cared about her thoughts on, motherhood. Everyone just wanted her to have children at any cost to her. And it just made you, it makes you so sad because this is really what happens. And it makes you so angry because this is really what happens. And
yeah, I can tell you about 6 times this week I've had this conversation.
So I mean, it was a really, really good book. But man, it was really heart-wrenching because she really went through, a lot. And I just don't feel that she didn't have the support that she needed. And she didn't have the respect and the space that she needed to do what she wanted to do with her life and her body. But man, the ending took me out. It took me out so hard, man. I was mad at the husband for like the rest of the year. I still don't like him. I
feel like I get the most pressure about children from men that have no business caring about what happens in my womb.
That is just so weird.
Isn't that weird? Isn't it?
It is weird. It's very, very weird.
Often in a professional setting. It's
very much.
Very weird. It's very weird.
It's, yeah. Come on. That's gross, actually.
It's very, very strange. I'm like, what is it that makes you feel like you need to convince me to procreate?
Right. Like, sir, how does this help you?
It's like, I think you need to go home and make your own baby. Thank you.
Wow. Take notes, man. Stop talking to ladies about their decisions on having children or not having children. It's none of your business. Just say, mind your own.
Smile. You're going to get punched in the face.
Oh, do not ever tell me to smile. Anyway, this is Rootless, and I just highly recommend this book.
All right. So, like Naomi, I think I've talked about all these books. And I've definitely talked about this one. And I actually have a copy of this for you. That's going to go in your box of goodies that's ever growing that I just, my disdain for going to the post office. So anyway, so this is Under the Earth and Over the Sky by Emily McCosh. Why did you buy it?
No, that's why I'm excited.
So this is a little fantasy self-pub novel that is beautiful. The author also is an artist, so she does all of the artwork. So anybody watching the video,
so she's like a Brahm.
Yeah, so she's, but not dark like Brahm. But anyway, so she is like, it's just a beautiful book. But then also the writing is really beautiful, and I really enjoy this story. This is about like a fairy king who finds this changeling in the woods, this little, well, I guess because the opposite is like a human baby, and he ends up kind of taking this baby, and he really should get rid of the baby, but he kind of doesn't. He kind of grows attached. He kind of like gives it a little bit of magic, so the baby has a little bit of something. And you're watching this really tender relationship between this, adoptive dad essentially and this baby. You're watching his relationship with his partner, who's, not like a conventional like wife or anything like that, but he has a partner. And you're also watching the political dynamics of this world, because there are things encroaching on the fairyland. There are problems, and there's also like a trauma that's happened in the past. So there's a lot of like deep and moving things that are happening in the story, and it's beautifully told. It's very lyrical. It gives me Laini Taylor vibes, and I was stunned, thrilled, knocked socks off into like the next county, so in love with this book. And I just got my books from her recent Kickstarter, so that's why you have a copy, because I gave her like the highest tier I could afford, which means I got like every book she's ever written.
Oh, wow.
So you now have your own copy.
Yeah.
So this one is actually going to be yours. But yeah, I hope you like it. I
I'm
was just
excited.
so floored by how well done this book was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she also has a sci-fi like novella series called Planetfall, which is not like perfect, but it's fun and it's so different. And there's like a cyborg like fox, so it's like half fox, half like mechanical legs. It's cute. Um, I've gotten through the first 3, I think, but I want them in hard copy. I only got the first one in hard copy through this Kickstarter. Sounds like she might be doing a bind up. So when she does the bind up, my ass will be grabbing them. So yeah.
Yeah.
If you're looking for like a good indie self-pub author and you just want something a little different, Emily McCosh, please, for the love of God, go get her books. She's working on some giant sort of romantic-y thing, and I'm like here for it. Bring it to me when you're ready. I know it's gonna be beautiful. I know it's gonna be well written. You know.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited. That's great. I'm excited. I'm excited.
She's gonna read it, folks, and she's gonna say, "I don't like it."
I think I'm gonna like it because the first time you talked about it, I was like, "That sounds good to me."
It's really I love this little story, and there's all these like really tender sort of familial moments, but then also you've got like a little bit of it's kind of like a cozy fantasy, but it's not, because you do have this sort of like impending violence that's kind of going around, and there are things that have to be done, and there are threats to the story, but there are these really tender moments between the Fae King and this boy.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm excited. Okay. My next one is Wellness by Nathan Hill.
I still need to read, what's the other one?
The Nyx. Yeah, I got the Nyx too. I ordered it right after I finished this because I love Wellness so much. Again, it's in my like sweet zone of marriage, right? And so we follow Jack and Elizabeth's marriage and their whole marriage, and we also get to learn a lot about them as individuals and how they grew up, and as we learn about what they went through in their childhoods, things in their marriage start to make more sense. How they interact with one another in their marriage begins to make more sense once we get more backstory on how they grew up with in their respective families. And I just love that look at, what brings people together, what are those things that make a long marriage challenging, and how do they find their way back to one another, to a place where they're both choosing to be with one another. And I thought this was a beautiful story. It was also so funny. I loved every minute of it. I know I've heard a lot of good things about this book, but also a lot of people saying, like he's very long-winded. He is, but like I just want to say Nathan Hill is going to get you there. Okay?
I feel like I've only ever heard good things. That might just be the people I follow,
Yeah, I've heard a few things, but like I just want to like if you've heard those things too and it's making you hesitant, I'm just going to tell you that Nathan Hill's going to get you there. Okay? Just let him do his thing. Just let him lead you. Just trust him. I'm telling you, this is a good story. It all comes together. It all makes sense, and it's phenomenal. So just let him lead you. Just get on the ride and just enjoy it. Wellness. I do think this also made a lot of people's best of list as well.
I've seen it going around, like with Northwoods too. Like the 2 of the books I've seen probably the most consistently. In people's stuff, at least for literary fiction. So we've talked about this before, but Stoner by John Williams. This book is like a quiet little weevil that just burrows into your brain and never leaves, because you will find yourself thinking about it. And I was just thinking, kind of trying to think about like what exactly I want to say about this book that I haven't already said. And so basically this is just the story of a man. He's just a man in a time. He ends up being a professor. It's his life. It's ostensibly a very boring book, but is not boring in reading it. Like you're like, the brief is like, okay, and but it is a book that like kind of sticks with you, and like it's one of those everyman kind of books. you can see a lot of things in this. There's lots to relate to in different ways. And what I keep saying is that what I want is I want a story from his wife's perspective. I want more because I don't feel like, and I get it because it is from his perspective. It is his view of everything, and they don't have a communicative relationship. But there is more to that story. There's more to that puzzle. There's more to that woman. And it's interesting is I got at least one comment on my review of this over on my channel where somebody like really boiling it down, it was like, you don't really need to know more, like this is basically what she is. He tells you everything you need to know about her. And that is such a man's answer to this. That like everything you're seeing at face value is everything. Like there's nothing else below the surface. And I know in my soul that there is more to this woman than just her being terrible. And I'm not saying that she isn't terrible, and she could still be terrible, and she could still do bad things, and she could still, but there is depths, there's reasons, there's motivations, there's something there. There is her vision of Stoner. And I would love to see somebody give you that, to give you that reflection back of what is this every man like? What is it like to be married to this man?
Yeah.
What were her hopes and dreams? What was she, doing? And this is a time where, this is what, like the turn of the century, like 1910s, because we probably like 1900s to 1910s, because we hit World War One. Women weren't free to do a lot of things.
Exactly.
Especially not in middle America.
Exactly.
What was going on in the depths of her soul? And I still really want that book. So please, if there's any authors who have read this and have felt the same way, please write that book. Please write that book and send me anything. I will beta read it. Like, I need that. I need that book.
Oh, that's funny that commenter said he's told you everything you need to know.
I mean, I would have to find the exact thing for the exact verbiage, but it really just kind of boils down to, like, you have everything in the text. She's just kind of terrible. And I can't, as a woman, I cannot believe that is that, like, surface level. She could still be terrible, but there's a reason. There's things that have made her that way.
Absolutely. I'm going to get me some John Williams reading at some point.
I need to read Butcher's Crossing this year.
Yeah, I need to finally buy it and stop putting it in my save for later cart. All right, my next one is Identity by Matthew Sanyal, translated from the German by Alta L. Price.
You love that.
To me,
book.
I do. I love it, and definitely super underrated. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this book, but it was fantastic. And it's about this well-known blogger and doctoral student who has this supervisor professor who she's really obsessed with. And she teaches post-colonial race studies. And the blogger, who goes by the name Identity, finds out that the teacher that she thought was Indian is only passing for Indian, and she's really white. So her entire world and everything is kind of upended by this knowledge. And it just shows how this professor handles everyone finding out that she's passing for Indian, and how people be getting in such an uproar about it, and how even though she's lied to everyone about this, there are still so many people that are like on her side. It's just so wild. Because, look, this is a satirical novel, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just really funny. Like some of these lines this professor gives are like so outlandish. I had such a good time reading this book.
What was the lady who did that? The lady who was passing for Black and was like an African American studies teacher. And what was her name? Shonda Rhimes? No. No, that's rough.
That's an actual Black lady. Oh my God! I know exactly who you're talking about, because didn't she just come out of the woodwork again? talking about something Dolass, something Dolazol, something like that.
Oh, somebody will tell us.
Something Dolazol.
It's an actual black lady.
So anyway, I would like more people to read Identity. It's a great satirical novel. It's fantastic. So
I don't think I could keep myself from saying identity.
I know. It's so good. I want more people to read it.
Immature. Anyway, so I'm curious if you're going to have this on yours, but maybe not. So Claudia Pinheiro's A Little Luck. I find myself sort of randomly thinking about this, especially in the car, and I just love her writing, and I want more of her literary stuff to be translated into English. I like the way she sort of slowly unfolds a story and keeps you invested as she goes. This one's very much like she gives a little bit and then she comes back, and then she goes a little further the next time she drops some information, and then she comes back. And I think I said this in my review online. It's very much like that game you used to play maybe at camp or something, where you'd be like, I'm going to a picnic and I'm bringing an apple, and the next person would go and they'd be like, I'm going to the picnic and I'm bringing an apple and a banana, and like you just have to keep building. And that's kind of the way this whole story unfolds. And so by the time you get the full reveal, like you've just been like waiting with bated breath, and you've been teased with like this ominous thing that's going to be occurring, and then watching how that shifts and changes their lives, and then how things kind of find resolution in the end. And I gotta remember his name. I think his name was Robert, but the love interest of our main character that she finds later in life is honestly one of the best people. Like, I would do unspeakable things to find somebody that loving and caring, because he doesn't appear to be real. Like, that's how just, just unselfish he is.
Yeah.
His name might not be Robert. I cannot recall anymore. You can't read this many books and remember everybody's names, but it is so good. Please read this. Please, Charco, put out more and send them to me.
More Claudia
somehow send them to me so I can read them. I will give you doll hairs. Just send them
more
to me.
Claudia. I love Charcoal Press.
I do too.
All right, this is my last one, and it's our Sheriff Night.
I knew you'd have that on there.
Yeah, by Mariana Enriquez. Translated from the Spanish by Megan McDowell. And I read this book over a couple of months, and it just really just seeped into my every being, and I just thought about it for many, many months. I still think about it. It is it's a very political book, because this like spans across Argentina's like military dictatorship, and so we've got that whole political aspect. It's a very evil book. There was a lot of evil stuff happening. There was a lot of evil stuff happening. Gasper, the child in this book, his dad has been a part of this thing called the Order. He's able to commune with the dead, and but he's very sick. And so the Order is looking at his son, Gasper, who was only 6, to basically take over and commune with the dead. And so it's this whole story of them trying to protect Gasper from these horrible people, including his grandmother, Mercedes, who, we read John Steinbeck's East of Eden, and that woman, the mother, was like so horrible. Mercedes is equally horrible. Just so evil, just so demonic.
Saying something.
It really is. It really is. So she's right up there. You know what? She's gone a level past it, because she's torturous in a lot of ways. But I don't know. This book just gripped me in so many ways. And kind of terrified me in a lot of ways too. I loved it. I kind of would like to know what the audiobook sounds like. I'm curious. So
I'm sure I will listen to it, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, so I may listen to it again, but yeah, that's Our Sheriff Night by Mariana Enriquez. That's my last one.
Well, my last one's one of my last books of the year, and I read it because the publishers did send this to me, so thank you, Scribner. But I read this because it was a literary fiction that Jess Owens actually really liked. So I was like, you know what, I have to read and see what book has brought
Oh yeah,
this
because that's not her jam at all.
to my world. So, and that is Ripe by Sarah Rose Eder. I really liked this. So this is very much like um all the sort of millennial corporate, just not even malaise, it is like depression of having to live in a like end stage capitalist world where you have to like go into your corporate job every day. You're in Silicon Valley, which is like the worst place to be, right? If you're dealing with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you're at some company where you have that culture of like the CEO is like kind of godlike in some way, and you're supposed to be feeling blessed to be there and blessed to give up your whole life to do this, and everything is just like, what are you complaining about? You know, like there's 1,000 people, and there are actually like 1,000 people who would take your job in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And she's reasonably high up in the structure. She's not like C-suite, but she's like reasonably high up. She has a little, she's not like a peon.
She's mid-level.
But she is grappling with that, with just the grating existence that you have to live now, trying to keep up with the Joneses of your own life. Like, how do you get the job, you get the money, but now you live somewhere and you can't afford anything. Your apartment goes up like $900. Like, how am I supposed to pay that? You know, you're rich but you're poor. You're in a terrible relationship. Your family's not great. You know, it's how do you, all these like smaller traumas adding together to just beat you down. And I really loved it. I loved the way it was written. I loved the darkness. I loved the woman screaming into the voidness. I loved the ending, which is dark and leaves enough of a question mark where you're like, did she, didn't she? And I mean, I think she did. So if you've read it, you've gotten to the end. I think she did. Did you think she did? Because I think she did. And I love this. I think this captures a moment that's very current, but I feel like a lot of people have felt that this way. There's a lot of like, I remembered when I was nearing the end of my job when I worked in private equity, where I was walking from Grand Central up to our office on like 6th Avenue, and it felt like I was walking to the guillotine every morning. And there were mornings I just cried the whole walk in, and I should have been grateful. Like, I had this crazy job and like I made decent money, and I was like 25, and you know, you're doing things with your life. You're checking all of the boxes everybody told you to do, and you're so effing miserable. So effing miserable.
Yep.
So I such a good book. Love this so much.
That was also one of our Libro picks last year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I mean, I have marked this up. It is so good.
Wow. I have to listen
How
to
does
it
a person live
point.
when their life has been shrunken down to almost nothing? When you're young, every part of your life seems to be big and monumental. Once older, you can see it for what it is, smaller pieces of a larger game you have no choice but to play. It's very bleak, and I am here for it. Loved it.
Wow. All right, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Wow. Is that our 12?
That's all I got. That's our
12. That's our 12. But stay tuned for Alyssa's video for her actual full list of end of year favorites.
I don't know if I ever really do a full list because I read so many books. It's hard to like be like 10, 12. You know what I do?
I just stop when I feel like, okay, this is enough.
I usually say I'm going to pick like 2 or 3 books from each month. And I try to pick my favorites from that. Which then gets really weird because then I feel like you pick some interesting things where like maybe you would have picked something else. You know what I mean? Like, or you wouldn't have picked. So anyway, That's probably what I'll do. I'll make a decision after I take a nap, but I think I'm going to do 2 or 3 from each month and like some of my top favorites from each month and compile a list. Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, maybe you found some books to add to your TBR from this episode. Hope so. Or if you've read any and you also enjoyed them, let us know. Let us know. Let's get into some recommendations. What do you got for the people?
Okay, so I ordered a special box from Unplugged. It was their romantasy box because the books sounded good, and I jumped into them right at the tail end of the year. So I read the first 2 just before the year ended, and I'm making my way through the last one. And it's this King and Coven series, and this is the box it comes in, which is really pretty.
Beautiful.
He's a little saucy there.
Right.
And these are the first 2 books. So this is Hunt a Demon and To Break a Demon Curse. And I'm just going to recommend this entire series to you guys, even though I haven't finished it, because I've read enough of it and I'm very happy with it. And this is To Wear a Demon Crown. And I think that as like a smaller sort of self-pub romantasy trilogy, this is one really well written, which is not something you often get. And also it is actually has world building, like decent world building, and it's not just sex, which is fine. Yeah. But it's not just sex. It has a really nice plot line. There is politics, and I feel like you would like it because there is sexy time. I mean, these are like fated sort of mates kind of thing going on, but it's not the main point of the story. Like, it's these nice little breaks in the political driving sort of war stuff. Right. So essentially, this is about this young witch who she and her mother have lived sort of outside of the rest of the coven. And at 25, she's supposed to like go to the coven and be like, I almost said indoctrinated, inducted into the coven, right? But her mom's always kept her separate. Like her grandmother is like the crone. She's the head of the coven, and the grandmother's always wanting to get a hold of her grandchild, and her mom like keeps them separate. And the witch world is separated from like the demon world, and there's a little bit of human intermingling, but basically there's like this big forest that separates everybody. And one day some stuff goes down, and she turns 25, and she finds out that she is a little different than everybody else, and she basically, her mother sends her off into the forest. It's actually like a bit of a Red Riding Hood spin, and she ends up meeting this huntsman in the woods, and then everything kind of follows from there. And we find her learning that the demon world isn't the world that she always thought it was. Everything she always knew wasn't exactly as it was told to her. She has to come to grips with a lot of new facts, a lot of new magic, a lot of new people, experiences, things, and also just falling in love and all this other stuff. And then once she falls in love, it really starts to just erode a lot of things in the world. And now like her grandmother is basically coming to get her somehow. So there's this war between the demons and the witches that's happening. And it's complex enough. It's just good. It's so much fun. It's just such a guilty pleasure. And I'm really loving it. I feel like you would like it because there's just enough in there.
Right. Just enough.
Just enough. Okay. And like, even when they have misunderstandings, she never goes like whole hog into it. You know, like when you get that like miscommunication or like whatever, or like, and they just drag it on for chapters. She's really good at kind of having what I think is like a much more normal, process of it, where like you actually talk about it, and then eventually over the course of maybe a chapter or 2, they do come to some sort of resolution and can move on, as opposed to making like this like first half of the last act just like all about them hating each other for some stupid thing that if they just spoke to each other wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. And I just like it. There's like different courts in the demon world, and the political system is kind of interesting, and there's different creatures and beings, and it's just nice. It's just nice.
Sounds good.
Just nice. So if you're like, you know what, I just want a nice little brain break. I don't want to read about corporate anger and depression, and I just want something happy.
Yeah.
King and Coven.
I mean, it sounds good.
Oh, I never said who wrote this. It's Madeline Elliott.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, it sounds good to me. And that's one book.
This is the third book. I'm almost done with it, but it's 3 books. It's
okay.
a trilogy.
Okay.
But they're not very long. They're like 300 pages in this.
Oh, nice.
Printing each. So like they're nice and short. They're like well paced, well written. Nobody is terribly annoying. I feel like a lot of times you go down into these romantasy worlds where people get really annoying, or like it's just relying too much on like smut or like weird longing or any of that. It's a little bit more adult. I also think because like the characters are a little older. Like you have somebody who's 25 and you have somebody as opposed to somebody who's 18.
Right. Or even 20. Yeah. Okay. You kind of got me intrigued a little bit there. I'm not going to lie.
You should do it.
Yeah. Okay. I am recommending We Are a Haunting by Tyreek White. This was kindly sent to me by Astra House. I'm telling you, getting on the list for Astra House last year was like one of my great joys because they are putting out what I love to read. They also put out My Men and Identity. Like they do it for me. This was so beautiful. This is his debut novel. It's about a young high schooler who lost his mom very suddenly, and he is just left really reeling her death and feeling very rootless and very angry. And so this story goes back and forth in time, in the present with the son, what's his name, Collie, in the present time with Collie, seeing how he's dealing with his mother's death. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, that was really weird. I don't know what just happened. Hang on a minute. I'm just going to keep talking. And so, because we're at the end. And so, Collie's family, they are all able to kind of commune with the spirits. His mother had that gift, and then he realizes that he also has that gift. So he is dealing with learning how to live without his mother, and at the same time learning how to navigate living in between that space of the living and the dead. And it's just so beautifully written. Highly recommend this book. It's a short novel, only not even 250 pages. It's wonderful, really beautiful. Learning about the life of Collie's mom, Key, and learning about Collie and the rest of his extended family. Highly recommend We Are a Haunting by Tyreek White.
Interesting. I really wonder what happened. Where did you go?
I don't know. That was weird, but I'm happy. I'm glad it happened at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway. The very end.
Well, now that the ghosts of Naomi's new room are trying to destroy our video yet again. We should wrap this up. If you're watching the video, you can always leave us a comment with some of your favorites from the year, or if you've read any of these, let us know.
Yes, please do. Please do.
You usually do the outro, so I don't remember what we say.
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. So yes, just follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown, and don't forget to visit our website, tbrlowdown.com. All the details for how to join our Discord or Patreon, to look at our 2024 community reading schedule. It's all on our website, tbrlowdown.com. Go over there, take a visit, take a gander at what we've got going on, and join in on the fun. All right, that is going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye. Bye.